I heard my son speaking ill of me. The next day I made a shocking choice. Michael Thompson was about to enter his house after another exhausting day at the office when he heard his son's voice drifting through the slightly open window. The 43-year-old businessman stopped on the front steps, recognizing Nathan's tone on the phone. That's when the 17-year-old's words cut through the night air like daggers. "Dude, my dad is a failure as a father. All he knows is work, work, and more work. He doesn't even notice I exist here at home. Sometimes I think it'd be better if he just disappeared from my life." Michael felt his chest tighten, as if the air had been sucked from his lungs. The document folder slipped from his hands, scattering papers across the porch floor. His legs trembled, and he leaned against the wall, trying to process what he'd just heard. "Seriously, Tyler, my dad is pathetic. Ever since my mom passed, he's turned into a money-making machine. Thinks that solves everything. He barely even looks me in the eye when he gets home. He'd rather stay late at the office than have a conversation with me." The words kept hitting Michael like devastating waves. Each sentence from his son was a painful revelation about how he'd failed as a father these past 2 years, ever since losing Jennifer to cancer. "He doesn't even know I have a girlfriend, doesn't know I got into college. He lives in his own world, pretending that taking care of me just means paying the bills. I'm done, man, done trying." Michael slowly stepped back, gathering the scattered papers with shaky hands. His heart pounded so hard he could feel it in his neck. He walked to his car, got in, and sat there for nearly an hour, absorbing every word he'd heard. When he finally entered the house, Nathan had already ended the call and was in his room. Michael climbed the stairs slowly, stopping in front of his son's door. He raised his hand to knock but hesitated. The words echoed in his mind. "It'd be better if he just disappeared from my life." He went back downstairs to the office and poured himself a glass of whiskey. He sat in the leather armchair Jennifer had picked out years ago and looked around. The walls were covered in diplomas, certificates, and photos of business awards. There wasn't a single recent picture with Nathan. He stayed up all night. Michael sat there, replaying the last 2 years in his mind. He remembered all the late nights, the missed dinners, the conversations interrupted by work calls. Jennifer always said he was a good provider, but had he been a good father? When the sun rose, Michael made the decision that would change their lives forever. He went upstairs, grabbed a small suitcase and packed only the essentials. He returned to the office and wrote a letter, placing it on the kitchen table where Nathan would surely find it. The letter simply said, "Nathan, you were right. Maybe it's better if I disappear from your life for a while. I need to figure out who I really am without work, without the responsibilities that consumed me. Don't worry about money. Everything's taken care of. Your grandma Margaret will look after you. When I can be the father you deserve, maybe I'll come back. I'm sorry I failed you so much. Dad." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing, Michael left the house at 5 in the morning, driving with no destination in mind. He left his phone on the nightstand and took only the cash he had stashed at home. He wanted to disappear completely, at least for a while. Nathan woke up at 7 and went downstairs for breakfast. He noticed the unusual silence in the house. Normally, he'd hear his dad on the phone or the sound of the coffee maker. That's when he saw the letter on the table. He read it once, twice, 3 times. The words made no sense. Had his father left? Why? He ran to his parents' bedroom and found the closet half empty. His father's phone was there, turned off. "Dad! Dad!" he shouted through the house, hoping it was some cruel joke. But the house remained silent, echoing only his own desperate cries. He tried calling his father's office, but the secretary said Michael had cancelled all appointments and left instructions not to be disturbed for at least a month. Nathan sat on the kitchen floor, rereading the letter. His words from the night before came back like a curse. "It would be better if he just disappeared from my life." That was exactly what had happened. The phone rang. It was Margaret, Nathan's paternal grandma, calling from Providence to say she was arriving by bus. Her voice sounded worried and confused. Michael had called her in the early hours, asking her to look after her grandson for a while, but giving little explanation. When Margaret arrived, she found Nathan torn between anger and despair. The boy told her about the letter, but left out the phone call from the night before. How could he explain that he might have been responsible for his own father's disappearance? "That boy was always stubborn," Margaret murmured, stirring pots in the kitchen. "After his mother passed, he was lost. Work became his escape, but abandoning you like this, that's not the Michael I raised." "Grandma, he'll come back, right?" Nathan asked, his voice breaking. "I don't know, my boy. I don't know." The days dragged on. Nathan tried to keep a normal routine going to school, but he was completely distracted. His friends noticed his sadness, but he made excuses. How could he explain that his father had simply vanished? A week later, the first consequences arrived. The bank called about suspicious transactions in the business account. Michael had transferred large sums to a personal account no one knew about. He'd left enough cash for all household expenses, but his actions at the company were being questioned by his partners. Nathan realized he knew nothing about his father's business. All these years, Michael had shielded him from financial worries, but now the boy felt utterly lost. Margaret tried reaching Michael through acquaintances, distant relatives, anyone who might have news of him, but it was as if he had simply vanished. "You know, Nathan," his grandma said one afternoon as she folded laundry, "your father lost his parents very young. He was raised by uncles who weren't very affectionate. When he met your mother, she taught him how to love, how to be a family. After she was gone, I think he forgot how to do it alone." "But why run away? Why not talk to me?" Nathan punched the couch in frustration. "Sometimes, my boy, adults do things even they don't fully understand. Your father always kept his feelings locked inside, even as a child." Meanwhile, 300 miles away, Michael had arrived in a small town called Oakwood in rural Pennsylvania. He'd chosen the place at random, stopping when the car needed gas and deciding to stay. He rented a simple room in a boarding house run by a woman named Doris. He said he was passing through, but ended up staying when she offered him work in the small repair shop out back. "I don't ask questions about anyone's past when they come here," said Doris, a 60-year-old woman who'd seen many lost men pass through her boarding house. "But if you want honest work, there's plenty." Michael accepted. He'd never worked with his hands before, but he found something deeply therapeutic in fixing engines, changing oil, and adjusting brakes. The physical work tired his body but calmed his tormented mind. At night in the small, simple room, he wrote letters to Nathan that he never sent. Page after page trying to explain the inexplicable, apologizing, expressing all the love he couldn't show in person. "My son," he wrote in one of those letters, "I know you won't understand what I'm doing. I don't fully understand it myself. But when I heard you talking to your friend that night, I realized I'd become exactly the kind of father I swore I'd never be when you were born." Tears smudged the paper as he continued, "Your mother always said work was important, but family was essential. After she passed, I drowned myself in work because it was easier than facing the pain, easier than learning to be a father alone. I ended up pushing you away when I should have pulled you close." Back in the city, Nathan had begun investigating on his own. He checked the bank statements that arrived in the mail and discovered Michael had withdrawn cash in Boston. It was the first concrete lead. "Grandma, he was in Boston. I can go look for him," Nathan said, showing the statement. "Sweetheart, Boston is a huge city. How will you find someone who doesn't want to be found?" "I don't know, but I have to try. I can't just sit here doing nothing." Margaret looked at her grandson and saw the determination he'd inherited from his father. "All right, but you're not going alone. I'm coming with you." They took a bus to Boston that weekend. Nathan had saved money from his allowance, and Margaret contributed what she could. For 2 days they combed the city, showing Michael's photo to shopkeepers, gas station attendants, and hotel clerks. On the second day, at a small diner, the cashier recognized Michael. "This gentleman was here, yes, about 2 weeks ago. He bought a sandwich and asked about small towns nearby. I recommended a few: Oakwood, Whitestone, Mount St. John." Nathan's heart raced. It was the second lead. Margaret wrote down the town names, and they decided to start with the closest one: Oakwood. The bus ride there took 3 hours. Nathan stared out the window, imagining what he'd say when he found his father. Anger and longing tangled in his chest. Oakwood was a town of 15,000 where everyone knew each other. Getting information wasn't hard. At the first bakery they entered, the owner recognized the photo immediately. "Of course I know him. That's Michael. He works at Doris's repair shop. Got here 2 weeks ago, seemed down, but he's a good guy. Want me to call him?" "No," Nathan said quickly. "Where's the shop?" The baker gave directions. Nathan and Margaret walked along the town's dirt roads, passing simple houses with flower-filled gardens. It was nothing like the frantic bustle of New York City. The repair shop was in an old house with a modest sign out front. Margaret hid behind a post while Nathan approached slowly. His heart pounded so loudly he was sure everyone on the street could hear it. Then he saw him. Michael wore plain work clothes, completely covered in grease, fixing the engine of an old car. He was thinner, unshaven, but it was definitely him. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. Nathan stood still for several minutes, just watching. His father worked with focused, careful movements. There was a serenity on his face Nathan hadn't seen in a long time, maybe not since before his mother's illness. Finally, he gathered his courage and stepped into the shop. "Dad?" Michael jerked his head up as if shocked. The wrench slipped from his hands and clattered to the floor. His eyes widened at the sight of his son standing there, real, not one of the many hallucinations he'd had these past weeks. "Nathan? How did you—" Michael wiped his hands on his clothes, making them even dirtier. "How did you find me?" "It wasn't easy," Nathan replied, trying to keep his voice steady. "Dad, what are you doing here? Why did you run away like this?" Michael glanced around the workshop as if searching for answers among the scattered tools. Doris appeared in the back doorway, sensing the tension. "Michael, is this boy—" "He's my son," Michael answered quietly. "Oh, so this is the Nathan you're always writing about in your letters. So nice to meet you, young man. I'm Doris." Nathan looked at his father in surprise. "Letters? What letters?" Michael flushed. "Doris, please. Michael, you spend nights writing letters to this boy. I've seen you crying over those papers more than once. Why don't you send them?" "Because I don't have the right," Michael murmured. "Because I failed as a father." "Dad, what are you talking about? You didn't fail." Nathan took a step forward. "I need to talk to you, alone." Doris took the hint and discreetly stepped away. Michael and Nathan were left alone in the workshop, with only the distant hum of the small-town traffic filling the silence. "Why did you do this, Dad? Why disappear without any real explanation?" Michael leaned against the workbench, avoiding his son's gaze. "Because you were right. In that talk with your friend Tyler, I heard everything." Nathan's blood ran cold. "You heard? Every word. You said it'd be better if I disappeared from your life, so that's what I did." Nathan sank onto a wooden stool, processing the words. "Dad, you misunderstood. I was just—" "You were telling the truth," Michael interrupted. "I became exactly what you said. A pathetic father who only knows how to work, who doesn't even know his own son has a girlfriend, who passed his college entrance exam." "How do you know that?" "Because I heard everything, Nathan. Everything." Michael finally looked at his son. "And the worst part is you were right. I don't even know your girlfriend's name. I don't know what major you chose. I don't know your dreams, your fears, your hopes." Nathan was silent for a moment. The guilt he'd carried for weeks finally had a chance to spill out. "Dad, I didn't mean what I said. I was upset because you were late again, cancelled our dinner again." "You spoke the truth, Nathan. A truth I needed to hear." "No, it wasn't the truth." Nathan stood up, agitated. "I said those things because I'm ashamed to admit how much I need you. I'm embarrassed to tell my friends I still want my dad's attention, that I still want you to ask about my day, that I still want to watch movies with you on the couch." Michael stared at his son, stunned by the outburst. "You know why I complain about you to my friends? Because it's easier than admitting I love you and miss you every day. Ever since Mom left, it's like you went with her. You're here physically, but your mind, your heart, they're always at work. Nathan, let me finish. The young man's eyes brimmed with tears. When I talk badly about you, it hurts less than admitting I want my dad back. The dad who played with me, who helped with homework, who took me fishing on weekends. Michael felt his own tears begin to fall. Son, I didn't know. Of course you didn't. You're never home to know. But even so, even with all your absence, I never wanted you to disappear. Never, Nathan sobbed. When I read your letter, my world fell apart. I realized I'd lost the only family I had left. The silence that followed was broken only by their sobs. Michael approached his son slowly, hesitantly. Nathan, when your mother passed, I didn't know how to go on. Work became my refuge because there I had control over things. At home I felt lost, unable to be the father you deserved without her to guide me. Dad, you didn't have to be perfect. You just needed to be there. Michael finally hugged his son, pulling him close. Forgive me, my boy, forgive me for being such a fool. Nathan returned the embrace tightly, breathing in his father's familiar scent mixed with the grease from the garage. I'm the one who's sorry, Dad, for saying those awful things. They stayed like that for long minutes, father and son reconciling in silence. Margaret, who had quietly approached, watched from the doorway with tears in her eyes. Grandma, Nathan spotted her. You came too? You thought I'd let you do this crazy thing alone. Margaret stepped into the garage. Michael Thompson, what's this nonsense about abandoning family? Michael pulled away from his son and looked at his mother with shame. Mom, you nothing? Think you're the first widower in the world? The first father who ever felt lost? Margaret stamped her foot. Your son was hurting just as much as you, but at least he had the courage to come after you. You're right, Michael admitted. I was a coward. Doris reappeared, carrying a tray with coffee and cookies. Sorry to interrupt, but you all need to sit down and talk properly. Michael, show your son the letters. What letters? Margaret asked. Michael hesitated, but went to his room and returned with a shoebox full of handwritten letters. Every night I wrote to you, Nathan. I'd tell you about my day, how much I missed you, how sorry I was, but I never had the courage to send them. Nathan took one of the letters and began to read. It was from 5 days ago. My dear Nathan, today I helped fix a teacher's car from the local school. He told me how he talks to his kids about their dreams. It got me thinking, do I even know yours? Do I know what makes you happy? What worries you? I'm afraid the answer is no to all of it. Dad. Nathan looked up at Michael, eyes wet. Why didn't you talk to me about this in person? Because I was afraid of how you'd react, afraid you'd reject me, so I rejected myself first. Margaret shook her head. You two are just alike. You'd rather suffer alone than risk opening up to each other. Doris poured the coffee and pulled up a chair. Can I give my 2 cents? I'm a mother, a grandmother, and I've seen plenty of broken families pass through here. Everyone nodded. Michael, you're not the first man who doesn't know how to handle grief. And Nathan, you're not the first kid who says things he doesn't mean when he's hurting. The difference is, you two truly love each other. Anyone can see that from a mile away. How do you know? Nathan asked. Because your father talks about you non-stop, knows the day you were born, that you loved dinosaurs as a kid, that you have a scar on your knee from falling off your bike at 7. Nathan stared at Michael in surprise. And you, young man, Doris continued, came looking for your father in a town you didn't even know. That's something you only do for real love. So what do we do now? Margaret asked. Michael looked at his son. Nathan, I want to come home. I want to try to be the father you deserve, but I need you to teach me how. I need you to tell me about your girlfriend, about college, about your dreams. And I need to learn to talk to you when I'm upset instead of venting to my friends, Nathan replied. Her name is Emma, Nathan suddenly said. What? Michael blinked. My girlfriend. Her name is Emma. She studies with me and wants to do veterinary medicine. We've been dating for 6 months, and she's always asking when she'll get to know you properly. Michael smiled for the first time in weeks. What about the college entrance exam? Which major did you choose? Engineering, like you, but not mechanical. I want to do environmental engineering. I want to work in preservation. Why didn't you ever tell me this? Because you never asked, and whenever I tried to bring it up, you were always in a hurry or answering the phone. Michael lowered his head, ashamed. You're right, but that's going to change. If you give me a second chance, it'll change. Of course I will, Dad. You're my only family. Margaret wiped away a tear. Now you're talking like civilized people. Doris clapped her hands. So it's settled. Are you going back home? Michael looked around the workshop. Doris, these days here taught me a lot. Working with my hands, living without rushing. It was important for me. You can always come back whenever you want. This house will always be open to you. Actually, Michael said thoughtfully, I have an idea. Nathan, what if we moved to a smaller town? It doesn't have to be as small as Oakwood, but somewhere where I can have more time to be a dad and less time stuck in traffic and the rat race. Nathan was surprised. You'd do that? I would. I can work remotely on a lot of projects, and if I can't, I'll find another job. Nothing's more important than our relationship. What about Emma? How will I date long distance? Michael laughed. Then we'll pick a town close enough for you to visit her on weekends, or for her to visit us. Really? Really? I want to meet this girl who won my son's heart. Nathan hugged Michael again. Dad, I love you. I love you too, son. More than I've ever shown. Margaret stood up. There, now you're talking like a family. But don't make this moving decision today. First you go back home, talk properly, get used to each other again. Grandma's right, Nathan agreed. Let's take it slow. Michael nodded. But one thing's for sure. I won't let work be more important than you ever again. They spent the rest of the day in Oakwood, talking, exploring the town, seeing how Michael had lived these past weeks. Nathan was impressed by the simplicity and peace of the place. That night at the small boarding house, Michael showed all the letters he'd written to Nathan. There were over 30, some several pages long, all full of love, regret, and hope. Dad, can I take these letters with me? Of course, they were always yours, even if I didn't have the courage to give them to you. The next day, they headed back to New York City. On the bus ride, father and son talked more than they had in the last 2 years combined. Michael learned that Nathan played guitar, was learning English, and wanted to travel to see other countries. Nathan discovered his dad was afraid of heights, loved old country music, and dreamed of having a farm in the countryside when he retired. Why did we never talk like this before? Nathan asked. Because I thought showing weakness, fears, dreams were things a father shouldn't share with his son. I thought I always had to be the strong one. Dad, you're stronger when you're human. When they got home, everything felt different. The same house, the same furniture, but the atmosphere had completely changed. Michael put away all the work he used to bring home. From now on, when I'm home. No work. What if it's urgent? If it's truly urgent, I'll talk to you first. I'll explain the situation and ask if you're okay with me handling it. Nathan smiled. Deal. In the days that followed, they established new routines. Breakfast together every morning. Michael stopped leaving so early to be able to have breakfast with Nathan, dinners without phones on the table, talking about each other's day. Michael met Emma on a Thursday. Nathan brought her over for dinner, nervous about his father's reaction. But Michael was kind, asking about her studies, her family, and her plans for the future. Your son is very special, Emma told Michael. He talks about you a lot. I hope it's good things, Michael joked. It always is, she replied, making Nathan blush. After Emma left, Michael and Nathan did the dishes together. I liked her. She's a smart and polite girl. She liked you too. Said she never imagined you'd be so funny. Funny? Yeah, Dad. You cracked a lot of jokes during dinner. Didn't know you had a sense of humor. Michael laughed. I didn't either. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. 3 months later, Michael kept his promise of change. They found a town called Fairfield in the countryside near New York City, close enough for Nathan to stay in touch with Emma and his friends, but far enough from the city rush. Michael sold his business to his partners and set up a consulting firm that mostly operated online. They bought a simple house with a big backyard where Michael planted a garden and Nathan set up a small studio to play guitar. The move wasn't easy at first. Both had to adjust to the slower pace, the different people, the quiet nights in the countryside. But gradually, they discovered the advantages. Michael started taking morning walks, something he'd never done in New York City. Nathan enrolled in a local school to finish his senior year and quickly made new friends. Emma visited on weekends and often stayed to help with the garden Michael had planted. She got along well with Margaret, who decided to move to Fairfield too, buying a small house nearby. "I won't let you two lose each other again," Grandma said. "Besides, this town is much calmer for a woman my age." A year after Michael's escape, they were sitting on the porch of their new house, watching the sunset. Nathan played guitar softly while Michael read a book, something he hadn't done in years. "Dad, can I ask you something?" "Of course. Do you regret running away that day?" Michael thought for a moment. "That's a hard question. I regret causing you pain. I regret making such a drastic decision without talking first, but if I hadn't run, maybe we'd never have gotten here. Maybe we'd never have had this honest conversation. Maybe I'd have kept working myself to death without really knowing my son. So was it worth it? The pain? No. But the outcome? Yes. Definitely yes." Nathan stopped playing and looked at his father. "You know what I learned from all this?" "What?" "That sometimes people do the wrong things for the right reasons. You ran because you thought it'd be better for me. I talked badly about you because it was easier than admitting I loved you. And what else did you learn? That talking is always better than running. That showing love isn't a sign of weakness, and that second chances exist, but they only work if both people try to change." Michael smiled. "You've grown so much this year, son." "You too, Dad." 2 years later, Nathan was graduating from high school in Fairfield. Michael sat in the front row at the ceremony, cheering loudly when his son's name was called. After graduation, they threw a small party at home with Emma, Margaret, Mrs. Doris, who came all the way from Oakwood, and Nathan's new friends. "Speech, speech," shouted his friends as Michael raised his glass for a toast. Michael looked at Nathan, who nodded encouragingly. "Well, I'm not great with public speaking," Michael began, "but I want to say how proud I am of my son, not just for his grades, not just for passing the college entrance exam, but mostly for the man he's become." "Dad," Nathan was moved. "Nathan taught me that being a father isn't just about providing financially. It's about being present, listening, showing love every day. He showed me it's never too late to start over, to change, to be a better person." The guests applauded. Emma wiped away a tear. "And I want to say one more thing," Michael continued. "Nathan, you'll always be my greatest achievement. Not the company I built, not the money I earned. You, having you as my son, is what makes me proudest in this life." Nathan stood up and hugged his father in the middle of the room, to the emotional applause of everyone present. Later, when everyone had left, Michael and Nathan sat on the porch to talk, as had become their tradition. "Dad, thank you for the speech. It meant a lot to me. It was sincere, every word. You know, I was thinking, when I was little, before Mom got sick, you used to take me fishing on the Hudson, remember?" "Of course I remember. You were always impatient because the fish took so long to bite. And you always said fishing wasn't about the fish, but about the time we spent together." Michael smiled at the memory. "That's true. I did say that. Yeah. This past year has been like fishing again. It didn't matter what we were doing, just that we were doing it together. I'll miss you when you're off to college. Dad, Hartford isn't far. I'll come back every weekend." "And Emma?" "She got into veterinary medicine in the same city. We'll help each other study." Michael nodded, pleased. "That's good. You two make a lovely couple." "Dad, can I tell you a secret?" "Of course." "I want to propose to her when we graduate." Michael's eyes widened. "Really? Really? I want to build a family like you and Mom did. I want to be a present husband, a present father, I want to learn from your mistakes and your successes. Nathan, you're already a much better man than I was at your age. That's because I had a good teacher. They sat in silence for a moment, watching the stars in the clear countryside sky. Dad, can I ask you one more thing? Go ahead. Do you still write letters to me? Michael laughed. I don't need to anymore. Now I say everything in person. I miss the letters sometimes. Then I'll start writing again. One a week for you to read when you're in Hartford and miss home. Deal, and I'll write letters to you too. Even though we're so close? Yes, because some things are easier to write than say, and because I want you to have something of mine to read when you miss me. Michael hugged his son once more. How did I raise such a wise son? I don't know, Dad. I guess wisdom came through suffering and through love. 3 years passed. Nathan was halfway through his environmental engineering degree. Emma was studying veterinary medicine, and Michael had found the perfect balance between work and personal life. His consulting business thrived, but he kept strict hours, work during the day, family at night and on weekends. Nathan came home every Friday and only left Sunday evening. Margaret had fully adapted to country life and become a sort of adopted grandma to many of the town's young people. Emma affectionately called her Grandma Meg and always brought her flowers when she visited. During one of these visits, Nathan came home with a mysterious expression. Dad, I need to talk to you about something important. Michael grew concerned. Did something happen? Are you okay? Is Emma okay? We're fine, Dad. Actually, we're really good. Then what is it? Nathan took a deep breath. Emma and we decided to move in together. Michael stayed silent for a moment, processing the information. In Hartford? Yes. We found a small apartment near both colleges. It'll be easier for studying, more economical. And you came to ask for my permission? Not exactly permission, but your opinion matters to me. If you think it's too soon, if you're worried. Michael stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the backyard where he had planted the vegetable garden. Nathan, you're 20. You're an adult, responsible in college. You don't need my permission for anything. But, Michael turned to his son, but I'm glad you came to talk to me. It shows our relationship has really changed. What do you think about the decision? I think you two are a mature couple. You've known each other for over 3 years. You have plans for the future. I think moving in together is a natural step. Nathan smiled in relief. Really? Really. But I have one condition. What? I want you both to keep coming home on weekends, at least twice a month. This house is yours too. Of course, Dad. Emma loves coming here. She says this is the family she never had. What do you mean? She lost her parents in an accident when she was 15. She was raised by an aunt who was very strict. She says she feels like real family here. Michael was moved. Then she'll always be welcome, always. Nathan hugged his father. Thank you for understanding, Dad, for supporting our decisions. That's what parents do, son. They support, guide when needed, but respect their children's choices. It wasn't always like that between us. No, but we learned, both of us did. That night, Michael wrote one of his weekly letters to Nathan, even though he knew he'd deliver it in person. My dear son, today you told me about your decision to live with Emma. I admit I felt a pang in my heart, not because I disagree with the decision, but because it's another sign that you're growing up, becoming independent. I remember when you were little and said you'd never leave home, that you'd stay with me forever. Back then, I laughed and said one day you'd change your mind, but secretly, I hoped it would take a long time for that to happen. Now I know that letting your children fly is the greatest proof of love a father can give, and you're flying high, my son. You're becoming the man I always knew you could be. Emma is a special girl. I see the way she looks at you, how she cares for you, how she respects our family. I also see how you've changed since meeting her, how you've become more mature, more affectionate, more confident. I'm sure you two will make it. You'll build something beautiful together. And if you ever need anything, whether advice, support, or just a hug, we'll be here. This house will always be your home, Nathan. No matter where you live, where you go, or what family you build, there will always be a room for you here, a place at the table, a shoulder to cry on if needed. I'm proud of the man you've become, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for you and Emma. With all my love, Dad. 2 years later, Michael was helping Nathan and Emma organize a joint graduation party. Both had graduated in the same semester, Nathan in environmental engineering, Emma in veterinary medicine. The party would be in Fairfield, at Michael's house, to celebrate with the whole family they'd built over the years. Doris was coming from Oakwood. Margaret was thrilled planning the menu, and many of the young couple's college friends had confirmed their attendance. "Dad, thank you for doing this for us," Nathan said, helping hang streamers in the backyard. "Doing what? It's just a party." "It's not just a party. It's you celebrating our achievements as if they were yours too. But they are mine too. When you accomplish something, I feel fulfilled as well." That's how it works between father and son. Emma approached carrying a huge cake. "Michael, where should I put this?" "You can leave it on the patio table. And Emma, I've told you to call me Dad." Emma smiled. "I'm still getting used to it, but thank you for accepting me as your daughter." "No need to thank me. You make my son happy, and whoever makes my son happy is family." On the day of the party, the house was full of life and joy. Young people running around the backyard, Margaret commanding the kitchen, Doris telling stories about the time Michael worked in her shop. During the party, Nathan asked for everyone's attention. "Hey, I'd like to give a special thank you." The music stopped and everyone gathered around. "I want to thank my dad, Michael. A few years ago, our relationship was broken. I thought he didn't care about me. He thought I didn't need him. We were both wrong." Michael was moved, even though he knew his son would give some kind of speech. "My dad taught me it's never too late to start over, that it's possible to change, grow, and become a better person. He gave up everything to show me I was more important than any job or money." "Nathan," Michael whispered, "and I'd like to take this moment to make an announcement." Emma stepped closer, taking Nathan's hand. "Emma and I are getting married." The party erupted in cheers and applause. Margaret started crying with emotion. Doris shouted, "Long live the newlyweds." Michael hugged his son and future daughter-in-law, too emotional to speak. "Dad, will you be my best man?" Nathan asked. "It would be an honor." "And Emma, I'd like you to be my matron of honor," Nathan said to Margaret, who nearly fainted with joy. "My little grandson getting married. Good heavens." Later, as the party was winding down and guests were saying goodbye, Michael and Nathan sat on the patio to talk. "Son, I'm so happy for you both." "Thank you, Dad. Your support means everything to us. Can I give you some marriage advice?" "Of course." "Never let work, money, or professional success become more important than your wife. Learn from my mistakes. I'll always remember that. And when you have kids..." "When?" Michael laughed. "Sorry. If you have kids, remember that being present is more important than anything else. Your child won't remember the car you drove or the house you lived in. They'll remember whether you were there or not. Dad, you were there. Maybe not the way you should have been, but you were. And when you realized you weren't being the father you wanted to be, you changed. That counts for a lot. You forgave me too easily. Because I love you, and because I understood you were hurting just as much as I was." Michael looked at his son, now a grown man about to marry and build his own family. "Do you know what I'm proudest of, Nathan?" "What?" "That I raised a son who can forgive, love unconditionally, and give second chances. That's not something I taught at work. That's something you learned on your own. I learned by watching you and Mum. Even in the hard times, you truly loved each other. Your mother would be proud of you." "You think?" "I'm sure of it. She always said you had a huge heart." She was right. They fell silent, each lost in their own thoughts. "Dad, can I ask you one last thing?" "Go ahead." "Are you happy now?" Michael smiled. "I'm very happy, son. Happier than I ever thought I could be, after losing your mother." You gave me back my joy for living. You gave me back the joy of having a family. Then we're even. We are. 6 months later, Michael stood at the altar of the small church in Fairfield, beside his son, who wore an impeccable suit. Nathan was nervous, adjusting his tie every minute. Relax, son. Breathe. What if she changes her mind? What if she backs out? She won't change her mind. I saw the way she looks at you. It's the same way your mother looked at me. The music began to play, and Emma appeared at the entrance of the church, stunning in the simple dress she had chosen. She walked down the aisle alone as she had no father to escort her. When she reached the altar, she looked at Michael and whispered, "Thank you for welcoming me into your family." Michael took her hand and placed it in Nathan's. "Take care of my son, and let him take care of you." "I promise." The ceremony was simple and moving. When the priest declared the young couple husband and wife, Michael had to wipe tears from his eyes. At the reception, held in Michael's backyard, he gave the father of the groom speech. "My friends, family, loved ones. A few years ago, I almost lost my son because I was stubborn, proud, and unable to show love. Nathan taught me that family isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up, about forgiveness, about choosing love every single day." The audience listened intently. "Emma, today you've gained not just a husband, but also a father. I promise to care for you as I would my own daughter. And Nathan, my son, you've married an incredible woman. Cherish her like the treasure she is. And to both of you, may you build a family rooted in love, in conversation, in being there for each other. May pride never speak louder than your hearts. May you find happiness every day of the life ahead of you." Michael raised his glass. "To the newlyweds." "To the newlyweds," everyone echoed, clinking their glasses. Late that night, when everyone had left, Michael sat alone on the porch, reminiscing about the day's events. Nathan approached, still in his suit, but with his tie loosened. "Dad, thank you for everything. For the speech, for the party, for raising me." "No need to thank me, son. Thank you for giving me a second chance to be a father. So where are you two going for the honeymoon again?" "Key West. Just 5 days. We don't want to be away from family too long." Michael laughed. "Family isn't going anywhere. Enjoy yourselves in peace. When we get back, we want to talk to you about something." "What's that?" Nathan smiled mysteriously. "About expanding the family." Michael's eyes widened. "Emma is..." "No, not yet, but we're thinking about it. We want to know if you're ready to be a grandpa." Michael felt his heart race with excitement. "More than ready. Eager. Then when we get back, we'll start trying for real." "Nathan, having grandchildren would be the perfect celebration of everything we've built together." "Dad, can I tell you something I've never said before?" "Of course. That night, when you overheard me saying awful things about you on the phone, I knew you were listening." Michael was stunned. "What do you mean?" "I saw your shadow by the window. I saw when you dropped the papers, but I was so angry, so hurt, that I said those things even though I knew you could hear me." "Nathan, I wanted you to know how I felt, but I didn't know how to say it to your face, so I used Tyler to get the words out." Michael fell silent, absorbing the revelation. "You're not mad?" Nathan asked. "No. I'm impressed by your courage. Even in a painful way, you found a way to make me hear what I needed to hear. Sometimes to save a family, someone has to be brave enough to hurt first. You saved our family that night, son. We saved our family. Together." Michael hugged his son one last time on that special day. "Now go find your wife. She's probably waiting for you." "I love you, Dad." "I love you too, son. More than I can say." Nathan went inside, and Michael stayed on the porch a little longer, gazing at the stars and thinking of Jennifer. "We did it, love," he whispered to the sky. "Our boy grew into a good man, and our family will keep growing." A gentle breeze rustled the leaves of the tree he had planted in the backyard, and Michael had the feeling Jennifer was approving of everything that had happened. 2 years later, Michael was in the maternity ward, holding his first grandchild in his arms. The baby was named William Michael, in honor of his grandfather. "He looks just like you when you were a baby," said Margaret, who had become a great-grandmother at 85. "You think so?" "Identical. The same little face, the same way of furrowing his brow." Nathan approached, still emotional from his son's birth. "Dad, thank you for being the example that taught me how to be a father. Son, you're going to be a much better father than I was. Not better or worse, you'll be present. That's what matters." Emma, tired but happy, watched the scene from her hospital bed. "Michael, do you want to be the first to give him a bath?" "Me? But it's been so long." "It's like riding a bike, you never forget," said Margaret. Michael took his grandson and walked to the maternity ward's bathroom, where the nurse helped him give William his first bath. "Hello, my little grandson," Michael whispered, gently running the sponge over the baby. "Your grandpa will tell you all the stories of our family. I'll teach you how to fish, ride a bike, play soccer." The baby looked at Michael with big, curious eyes. "And when you grow up, I'll tell you how your dad taught me to be a better person, how he saved me from being an empty man without love." When he returned to the room, everyone was waiting eagerly. "So, Grandpa, how was it?" asked Nathan. "It was magical, just like I remember when I bathed you for the first time." Michael handed the baby back to Emma and sat in a chair beside the bed. "You know what I'm thinking?" Michael said. "What?" asked Nathan. "That this whole story started with painful words on a difficult night. And now it's here. With the arrival of a new life, it's as if everything was worth it." "It was worth it, Dad. Every hard moment, every tear, every conversation. It was all worth it to get us here." Emma held Michael's hand. "Thank you for raising the man I married. And thank you for accepting me as your daughter. Thank you for giving me this gift." Michael looked at his sleeping grandson. "For giving me the chance to be a grandfather." Margaret wiped away a tear. "Your mother would be so proud to see this family all together, Nathan. She's watching, Grandma. I'm sure of it." Michael kept gazing at little William and thought about how life can change completely when we least expect it. A few years ago, he was lost, alone, unsure how to be a father. Now he was surrounded by love, about to begin a new adventure as a grandfather. "William," Michael whispered to the baby, "Grandpa promises to be the best grandfather he can be. I'll be there for every important moment of your life. I'll love you unconditionally, support all your decisions, and teach you everything I've learned about family and love." Nathan heard his father's words and smiled. "Dad, you're already the best grandfather in the world." "How can you be sure?" "Because you became the best father in the world, and being a grandfather is just an extension of that." That night, Michael wrote his first letter to his grandson. "My dear William, today you were born and changed our lives forever. When I held you for the first time, I felt the same emotion I felt when your father was born 25 years ago. You are proof that families can heal, can grow, can become stronger after the storms. Your father and I went through very difficult times. We almost lost each other because of pride and lack of communication. But we learned that true love can overcome any obstacle. William, I want you to grow up knowing you are loved unconditionally. I want you to know you can talk to us about anything, that you can always count on us, that you'll never be alone. I'll tell you the stories of our family. I'll teach you the lessons I've learned. I'll show you that it's possible to change, grow, and become a better person at any point in life. Welcome to our family, my dear grandson. A family that was broken and rebuilt itself, that got lost and found its way again, that learned love is the most powerful force in the world. With all my love and hope for the future, Grandpa Michael." End of story. So, what did you think of this family reconciliation story? Have you ever experienced something similar or know someone who went through a situation like this? Leave a comment sharing your experience, and don't forget to like. If you enjoyed this touching story, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other narratives that will warm your heart. Thank you so much for being here.